Hello, money queens and listeners. Welcome to Women Behind the Millions. Let's meet the women behind the millionaires, the women supporting, guiding, celebrating women with their wealth. You will hear from women millionaires, how they got there, what they wish they had known, what got them to be a millionaire, the emotional side, the spiritual side, the practical side of wealth. You'll also get to meet the women behind the scenes helping make it happen. Let's dive into Women Behind the Millions. I am Jessica Weaver, your host, best-selling author of 3 books, wealth advisor, and founder of the Women's Wealth Boutique. Let's start meeting the women. Hello, ladies. Hello, money queens. Welcome to Women Behind the Millions. I am one of your hosts today, Jessica Weaver. We also have Donna Cates with us, one of our incredible advisors who focuses on women going through divorce. And we have a little bit of a sexy topic today with Misty Smith, who has her PhD. She's a licensed professional counselor and certified sex therapist. She owns and runs a multi-practitioner group practice in Alabama. She's been in private practice for over 11 years now and is a practicing counselor for 23 years. She loves what she does so much up to this point. She has gone through her own divorce, has 2 amazing children, and is very grateful for all of her relationships that she has built. She loves to travel and find new adventures with her new man. So she's showing us that it doesn't matter if you go through a challenging time in your past, that you can still have a very prosperous personal life, we shall say. So thank you so much, Missy, for being on here and for Donna to co-host this episode of Women Behind the Millions. Thank you. All right, well, let's dive in. This episode is going to be all about empowering, not devaluing yourself. It's kind of fun to have recording this episode today. We had an event with Misty last night going into women, our sex lives. And you could tell, Misty and Donna, I don't know about you, women came there with a question on their mind. Something that they've been dealing with for months, years, I would even guess decades with some of the women. And it was so cool to have a space and for Misty, you to get everyone to feel that comfortable that they are asking these questions in front of some strangers, some people they don't even know. It was amazing.
I was impressed. It was amazing at the questions they asked.
And I was also kind of sad after the event. I almost wanted to go and give every one of the women a hug and let them know, it's okay. Don't feel ashamed or embarrassed about these things, but also don't wait so long to ask these questions. But that's the problem. We don't know who to go to when these things come up, and who can we go to and not feel judged? I think enough with our sex, or our sex lives, that intimate side of us. There's enough shame and embarrassment, so many unknowns, and we just don't want to get judged by somebody. Do you see that with people coming to you, Missy, as they work with you?
Absolutely. It's very interesting with the empowering, not devaluing, but you have to understand how to value yourself as a sexual person and how to value that part of your life. Otherwise, it becomes either a tool or it becomes something you just do because you're told that's what you should do, or you avoid talking about it, potentially avoid doing it because it is this thing that may be due to childhood trauma or the way that you're brought up and what you're taught about sex, that it's not a good thing, that it's something that you should feel shame for or embarrassment about. So, shame and embarrassment, not the same thing. And I might, trip and fall and feel embarrassed and, hope nobody saw, but I don't have shame around that. But with sex, oftentimes there is this like a cloud of shame that people are taught to have around doing it, having it, And then there's also the embarrassment of like, ooh, I don't want to talk about my sex life to people. I don't want people to know that I have sex, even if I've got 10 kids. Like, we're not going to talk about sex. What? We don't do that. So I think that, really taking control of who you are as a sexual person, understanding why you have the beliefs you have and how to turn those potentially unhealthy beliefs into healthy ones helps you feel empowered as a person, as a woman, and use that empowerment in a positive way and not feel this need to either use or hide or know what another word feeling is, but use or hide that sexual part of you for things that don't make you feel, that don't leave you feeling good.
Yeah, I would say even avoid. We see that happening a lot with people with their money. There's something that they're embarrassed about, a mistake, even though they didn't purposely make a mistake. They just didn't know any different, or the plan didn't work. It wasn't them. And then they'll avoid it, or it brings up too painful of a memory. I'm curious about, we talked a lot last night, the environments we grow up around, the household was sex talked about. Very similar to money, was money talked about. Donna, what was your household like growing up?
Well, I will tell you that we had an affectionate family. We were huggers, and that's me. I could tell you today that if my spouse wasn't into hugging, much less more than that, we would not be. Because I can't function without that human, touch. But growing up, my parents were affectionate, but they weren't blatantly sexual in front of us. I can remember us having the sex talk, but it wasn't an intimate conversation we actually used, and this is going to date me. We actually used the encyclopedia for pictures. But it was probably, I think it was age 14-ish so maybe earlier than some, but we had the conversation, and I knew what we were supposed to do and what we weren't supposed to do. But yeah, that was about it.
I remember my mom telling me when my brother's 2 years older than me, and she had the conversation with him, and I can't tell you how old he was. He's pretty young though. And they're waiting in line at McDonald's, and he's processing it, right? And then all of a sudden he looks at my mom, goes, "Does that mean you and Dad did that to have me?" Oh my, it's gross. Of course, honey, that's what you do when you're in love, and to have baby.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yes. It's very interesting at what that sex talk looks like for people, because that as I described last night, my sex talk came with, an illustrated Bible. So I was
similar to an encyclopedia, but now let's add some religious gifts to it.
Yes, definitely, because that helps us so much. But that is oftentimes what it is. It's either the encyclopedia version or the illustrated Bible version, or just nothing, because parents don't know how to talk to their kids about sex because they, in fact, themselves don't talk about sex. And when you, like you said earlier, Jessica, if they don't know how to talk about it, how in the world are you supposed to talk to your children about it? So you are either getting
conversation. My kids aren't there yet, but you're right. How do you approach it? And how do you do it where you're educating and respecting the person without promoting it, right? Protecting the kid versus promoting, go off, have sex with whoever you want to. That's a balancing act, I would guess.
It is. And I think it comes, again, many times it really starts with you understanding your own attitudes around sex and your beliefs about sex. And then also understanding that just because your child is your child and you get to control decisions for a period of their life, that at some point they actually get to make those decisions for themselves. And it becomes I feel like it's a hard transition for parents oftentimes because do I want my 15 or 16-year-old to go off and start having sex? No, because the chances of that person she has sex with being a long-term relationship or being a meaningful relationship is so slim. And there is so much emotionally that attaches with women, oftentimes, and sex that until you really understand your own self and what sex is and what it's about, you are just adding so much potential emotional trauma to your life with every person you have sex with when you are, our brains do not fully develop until we're around 25. So if you consider starting to engage in sexual relationships with people 10 years before your brain is even fully developed, that's a lot. That's a lot of
big difference.
Yes. So my position with my kids has really always been, do I think you're going to wait until you're married? Probably not. Do I think you're going to wait until you're 25? Probably not. But, use caution. And when you don't know, I want you to be able to come and talk to me about it, because pregnancy happens, STDs happen. Here's what all of that means. Here's how those things happen. But those conversations come relatively easy to me because I talk about sex, because I'm comfortable talking about it. But for my mom, who never mentioned it, and like you said, Donna, my parents, I would see them kiss, I would see them hug. Their door was always locked on Sundays, and I didn't know what that meant, but but as I got older, I knew what that meant, but they didn't talk about anything. There was never a conversation about sex after that biblical illustrated conversation at age 7. Like, there wasn't a, hey, are you thinking about this? Hey, what if you thought? Because the assumption was that I would just not, because they had filled my head with so much guilt that I would make that choice to do the same as them. They also got married at 17 and 19. Like, they didn't have to wait that long. So I didn't get married until I was 26.
Meeting. Yeah, till your 20s, 30s,
yes.
Get married.
Yes. So I think getting comfortable with talking about sex requires you to first to delve into why you might not be comfortable talking about it. Mm-hmm. And once you can figure those things out, your conversation with your children and others is going to be a much different kind of situation.
And I want to jump in and say this because, as you're talking, Misty, I think I've always said this, and I feel like 100%. I think we can all benefit from having a counseling relationship because we need somebody with the skill set to help us deal with the emotional stuff. But I can probably say that the majority of people have never thought about working with a counselor / therapist, doctor, whatever, that focuses on sex therapy. And unless there is an issue like porn addiction or, sexual assault or betrayal or that type of thing. But I'm hearing that we all would benefit from having a conversation around this. So I just wanted to share that. I think that would be, and I just, before today, I know the work that you do, but it never occurred to me that maybe that's something I do need to do or would benefit from, right?
That's a great point, Donna. And that's exactly what we experienced last night. These women sitting on these questions for years, months, maybe their entire life, and not having the right place to bring them up. 100%. So we have a treat. So anybody who's watching or listening to this, you can watch the replay of our sex event last night. We'll have the link for you. You can jump on and see, because a lot of questions that probably been on your mind for a while that it's going to resonate with you, jump on and grab it. But 100% Donna, yeah, having that sort of relationship and not just talking with your girlfriends about it and hoping you're not being judged or whispered about behind the scenes or getting the wrong advice, the wrong info.
Yes. Well, and so I have a friend who has been my friend since I was pregnant with my daughter. So she's over 16 years now. And the concept of discussing sex with her in the beginning was that she would turn 1,000 shades of red. And she's 5 years older than me. So she just was never comfortable with it. And still to this day, it is one of those things she's kind of like warmed up to having some discussions. And sometimes she will talk about things a little more sensitive with me if there's no one else around. But still, that idea of just being able to have somebody to go to and ask questions is difficult because you don't necessarily, if you know that there's supposed to be some pleasure aspect to sex, but you're unsure because you've never had it. You never had it happen. Maybe you're not sure. Maybe you just think this is it. And then you don't have anybody to go to and ask, hey, what is this actually supposed to feel like? What is supposed to happen? And hey, what if that's not happening during intercourse? Because by the way, for most women, it doesn't. And with a lot of people, they just have that information that comes in from various sources, and that builds their knowledge base if they don't have a parent or a confidant that they go to when they're younger, and it becomes sexist for the man and pleasure is for the man, and this is what I'm supposed to do because I'm the wife, and we're doing a little bit of stereotyping here or assumptive statements, but it is. Then you have women who just don't like sex because they've been in a marriage for years and years and years, where really and truly it's not that pleasurable of an experience.
Yes, I feel Hollywood too is great in our mind that if I'm not, and there's a lot of pressure on the female or one of the partners pleasuring him, he's going to go and cheat. So now we have this huge fear on top of it. I need to really show up and perform and do my duty as a wife as well.
Right.
The piece for me, I feel growing up was always, don't wear too short of a skirt. Don't wear that bikini, because you're going to draw the wrong attention or men are going to look at you in a sexual way. And that, even to this day, I get very uncomfortable wearing certain things. And when men look at me, like, how are they looking at me? And I feel as women, that's the start of us shying away from that, our inner sexual power and being as well. Mm-hmm. That's always been ingrained in me. So how could women kind of overcome that, embrace, what makes them sexual instead of trying to avoid it or hide it in a closet behind closed doors?
Well, I think there are a lot of different ways for women to embrace that sexual part of them. My daughter and I have this discussion because I'm like, okay, what if I taught you recently? I said this because she was trying on dresses for an event, and she said, I can show off my boobs or I can show off my legs, but I can't show off both. And exactly. So because she was a very well endowed child, and she is shapely, and she's like. So we also had an incident at school where she was feeling really uncomfortable with a guy checking out her breasts, and she said, it makes me so uncomfortable. And I said, okay. I was like, what are you wearing? And she was like, well, this shirt. I said, okay, does it show off your breasts? She was like, well, yeah. I said, okay. What do you think he's going to look at? They are a beautiful part of you being a woman. And if you are going to wear something like that, then people are going to look.
Mhm.
I don't think that you should stop wearing that if that's what you want to wear. I think that you just need to understand that if you are going to be showing off this sexual part of you in a way that, I mean, it's like, I don't want her to go to school looking like a nun if she doesn't want to, but there are going to be cases where people are going to look. I mean, obviously can't punch them in the nose because that's not appropriate for school. But it is like, be who you are, love who you are. And if you don't like that part of you, then let's address your wardrobe change. But if you love that part of you, then be okay with that. But that is going to draw attention because men are attracted to beautiful women and sexual parts of women. But that doesn't, I just have never felt good about saying that means we should hide ourselves.
Yes.
It just means that we need to be comfortable with ourselves as a sexual person, as a woman, and choose what we want to show off, what we don't, and how we want to carry ourselves when we are.
Yes, that's beautifully said. Yeah. Being comfortable with our bodies, accepting our bodies, loving our bodies, and being good with showing up in the world, wearing certain things a certain way.
Right.
Such.
Right. And it is an interesting world to navigate with, I think, like what bathing suit do you wear? What skirt do you wear? Is it too short? Is it this? But also that comes back to the empowering versus devaluing. If I'm wearing this thing because I feel confident in this thing, because I feel good about what I look like in this thing, then I'm not wearing it because I feel like I need to use my body to get something. I'm not devaluing myself in that moment. So I think really understanding motive behind why you put on what you put on and why it makes you feel confident. And are you using that to get something because you feel like you need to?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you wearing that because that, in fact, actually gives you more confidence to walk into a room and stand there and speak to a group of people, or, offer to provide a service of, hey, I want to handle your money. I want to be your therapist. I want to, whatever it is, that if we can manage to really understand who we are as a sexual person, that becomes so much easier.
Yes. I love what you just said there, Misty. And maybe to growing up and working in a very male-dominated industry like the financial industry, I remember I worked with my father, and one of the advisors, I was wearing a V-cut sweater. Nothing was showing. I'm not big-chested. I'm very small boobs, so nothing's showing. And he looked at me. He's like, "You can wear a shirt like that." And he made me feel so bad about wearing what it was, a J. Crew sweater, right? J. Crew's pretty modest.
Yes.
Sometimes women do that to each other as well. But like, if you feel good in it, you should wear that. You should show up in it. So I want to switch gears a little bit here and talk with Donna about the divorcing women going through a divorce, or they're thinking about going through a divorce, and what they've been dealing with. I love for Donna and Missy both to talk on this point. What they're going through as they're coming up to the divorce, in the divorce, after the divorce, and to kind of reignite this piece of them that might have been kind of cooled off for too long.
Absolutely. Well, and I will tell you that when women come into my world about divorce, normally it's because they don't know what they need to know. And with the workshops that we offer, we actually talk about the emotional issues of divorce, how to take good care of yourself and your children while you're processing and making those tough decisions. And it even applies when these women have grown children. They oftentimes they think this is only going to matter to the young children, but it impacts the entire family. But we talk about that, and then we talk about the legal issues, and then also the financial issues. And what we discover is that women there's so many things that they don't know, and they're stuffing so many emotions, and we're talking about like money issues. And if they're not talking about money issues, they're probably not talking about sexual stuff either, or that intimacy. So if you don't have it, you don't have enough intimacy in your marriage that you can actually talk about money too. That's just going to create a lot of havoc. And when I'm talking with women about understanding their financial position while they're considering whether or not to divorce and what assets they may end up with post-divorce, if they say, I don't have any of that information, I'm going, okay, so do we ask to have access to that information? Because we're entitled to it, why do we not have it? Is it by choice, or like we're just totally disengaged? Or, how do we rectify that situation so we're not in the blind when it comes to how the household assets are being managed? And how do you have a conversation with your spouse or potentially soon to be ex-spouse about all the money so that you can even have the discussion and make smart decisions about that process? So it opens up a huge can of worms from an emotional standpoint, as well as just the psychological dealing with what you don't know.
Yes. You're saying there's emotions in divorce, Donna?
Oh, absolutely. Just a little bit.
The emotion. And
it's a roller coaster, right?
I could just imagine all those emotions could paralyze you, make you want to avoid these tough conversations. But that's exactly why they have you, why they have Misty, to keep that momentum moving forward so that they can get to that destination that they've been craving, that they know that they're worthy of and they deserve to have as well. What do you see, Misty, with women going through a divorce, or now they're going to have, a potential new partner in the bed? Right. That could be overwhelming in itself.
Yes, definitely. Because especially oftentimes, unfortunately, the sexual relationship in a marriage has been something that probably it impacted the fact that they are getting a divorce. Mm-hmm. Now, why? And the reasons are so vast, but it definitely has a tendency to be something that they've struggled with. Now, there's the potential for somebody to have had a partner who didn't want to have sex with them anymore, a partner who cheated on them. So what wasn't good about me? What wasn't enough about me? Last night when we did the meditation, there was that you are worthy, you are okay, you are good. And that is often not the feeling that people have when they are leaving a marriage. It is, I'm not okay. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not the person they wanted. I'm either not the person they wanted to have sex with, and we've just had a sexless marriage, or I'm not the person they wanted to be with, and they've cheated, or I'm not ever good enough because we have this perpetual argument about sex. So those are kind of three common themes if we're talking about, women and in the divorce process. And so I think it's important that they do get counseling for the many, many things that Donna mentioned that come with divorce and the emotional pieces that go with children and divorce. But then you've got, and then you add in the children, and, what does visitation look like? How do you date? When do you start having intimate interactions with a new partner? And how much of that do your kids see? And when do your kids see that? And so it becomes this slew of questions for women on what is okay and what is not okay. It's one thing when dad's going to date, but it's a whole different situation when mom's going to date. And when mom has a sleepover, that's a whole lot different than when dad has a sleepover. And because the perceptions oftentimes by the children is that mom is mom. Like dad is a man, but mom is just mom. And so then you have to navigate the feelings that go around how do you help your kids understand that you are still also a sexual person, a relational person. Like, just because this didn't work out doesn't mean that there won't be somebody else in the future. Now, how much you show your kids, how much you don't, that varies from person to person and ages of children and situations. But when women fight for these custody situations where they only have like every other weekend, what if you realize when you step outside of this marriage that you are actually a sexual person, that you do in fact like sex, and that you do actually want to explore that part of you in a different way? But now you only have like 2 nights every other week to even attempt to date somebody or get to know somebody. So there are a few things that go with divorce and women and intimacy. And also getting the, like, people, a lot of women get divorced in that 10 to 15 year range. Women, men, everybody. But it is the, like, after 10 or 15 years with one partner, you have settled into this routine of either this is how I get what I want sexually. I don't ever get what I want sexually because it's not about me. I don't really know how to talk about what I want because maybe we got together when we were really young and it just happened. And so now I don't even know how to describe the things that I like and enjoy in a sexual relationship. Learning how to express that to someone and understanding what you want. Like Donna said, if her husband were not a physical touch person, were not a hugging person, like that doesn't work that wouldn't work for her. I know that I dated somebody who was extremely physical touch for the first few months. And then all of a sudden it stopped. And I was like, what's up? I mean, no more holding hands, no more rubbing, no more touching, no more putting your hand on my leg in the car. And I was so confused. And I was like, okay, I feel like I've been duped. This is not what I signed up for. I don't do well with no touch. I need a lot of touch. And learning that it is okay to actually want what you want, need what you need, and be able to ask for it. And then being able to step away from a new relationship if that's in fact not what you're getting. Because maybe I think that's the best thing that the divorce process and the counseling process through divorce needs to teach women is that you don't need to apologize for what you need. You don't need to back off from what you want. And if in fact you realize in a new relationship that they're not capable of doing that, they're not capable of giving you that, then it is okay to say, it's been fun, but we're not a good match. And that's okay. Because otherwise that is I think how you end up with the divorce after divorce after divorce. Because
you repeating the same cycle or pattern from a previous marriage sex life and into the next one. Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
And I will add that because I know Misty personally through this kind of process, I think women who don't take the time post-divorce to really learn about themselves and the role that they played in the the dissolution of their marriage and literally getting in tune with what's important to them about everything, they do themselves a disservice because they do end up in the exact same type of relationships over and over and over. So that's what I applaud, is that I know that Misty and several other women, that I know professionally have walked that path, and they've taken the time. And it might be 6 months for one person. It might be 5 to 7 years for somebody else, but you have to take that path for yourself to know when you are in the right place for the next relationship. That's huge.
Yes, to value yourself enough to take that time. And something you said last night, Misty, that I would never have thought when it comes to having, an empowering sex life, we'll call it, or intimate life. You said women tend to have more confidence. Yep. Okay. That makes sense. I could see women showing up differently. I know what I want. I think just even being able to communicate that is the confidence right there. Right. But you said stability. And as we're talking through, going through the divorce and not repeating, kind of holding your tongue, just putting all the pleasure on your partner, but actually going forward with what do you want and exploring that, communicating it. Now I can see where that stability in your sex life and not having these crazy peaks and then these dry spouts, but consistently showing up and receiving that pleasure, communicating it, stability. Like who would thought? From with healthy sex life, but now it makes sense.
I'm so happy.
Love that. I love that.
I said those words that really were interesting when they came to me because I wrote your questions down, and then I thought, okay, it was this word and that word, and but some of those like stability and comfort and independence and confidence. Confidence is easy to say, yes. If I'm more aware of myself sexually, then I'm probably going to be more confident in many ways. But the others were a little surprising even to myself that it just made so much sense to me in that moment. But at the same time, as I've gone through the divorce process and had to explore what dating and intimate relationships actually look like, I really thought post-divorce that marriage would probably come a lot faster for me, that I would probably end up married again more quickly than I wanted to be, even like that I didn't necessarily trust myself to not jump into something completely. Because I'm a relationship person. I love having a partner. Like I love being in a relationship that's healthy. But what I found was getting to know myself even better in a different way outside of a potentially unhealthy sexual situation. That those are the things that came for me. And recently, not yesterday, this was not even when I was preparing for this, I told somebody, I said, I think I'm actually really proud of myself. And they said, why? I was like, because I am into year 5 post-divorce, and I'm not married, and I'm not engaged, and I'm in a healthy relationship, and I love him, and it's wonderful, and maybe it will lead there, but I really didn't know that I could provide the comfort, the stability, the independence, and all of those things for myself in a way that was like, that I would feel good about. And
it would feel full about.
Yes.
Feeling that whole with, that next relationship, that next marriage.
Yes. So I think that knowing yourself sexually and being really confident in that piece, and also the financial, was huge for me. I know that's what you guys do, but that would have been, when I exited a marriage, I mean, to not be confident sexually, to not feel confident financially, those are the 2 big things that made me get into a relationship probably quicker than I should. But understanding those 2 things better and not jumping into a marriage has put me in a position where now I'm like, no, I don't actually need to get married. I will get married when I want to get married, but I don't actually need that. I can accomplish all of those things without a partner in my life or married to me. So I would strongly believe in what you guys do and what I do as far as creating women who can be those 4 things.
Financially empowered, sexually empowered, and it's a beautiful way for us to tie in this episode of Women Behind the Millions. We have you brought up the independence and knowing who you are, what you need sexually, financially, and something you mentioned last night that helps you avoid settling, which you're just talking about, avoiding settling, avoiding manipulative relationships, somebody having control over you, whether it's sexual control, financial control, emotional, physical, you're able to avoid those pieces. And that's what we want for all of our women, is that to feel that independence in or out of a relationship. It doesn't matter, having that independence on it. Any last thoughts, Donna or Misty, as we wrap up this episode?
I want to say that I'm compelled to say it's really imperative to understand that a man is not a financial plan. I didn't create those words, but I use them frequently, and that kind of wraps it all up. A man is not a financial plan, and we're entitled to our own sexuality.
Yes, amen to that, Donna. Very true, very true. How about you, Misty?
Yes, I just love that. That's great. I'm definitely using that in my sessions going forward. A man is not a financial plan. A man is not a sexual plan. But I do think that when Donna said, I think counseling is really important. I think people don't always think about going to therapy to talk about sex unless it's a problem. But then they don't always know what is a problem and what is not, because the problems really are noticeable primarily when it's a problem within a relationship. But if everybody realized that as a therapist who's comfortable talking to you about sex and exploring just those conversations with you was as important as a financial planner is in life, then every woman would walk this world knowing that they don't have to settle and that they can have all the confidence that they need.
Yes.
Amen to that, ladies. So very true. A man is on a financial plan, a sexual plan. We can be happy with them or without them, but we need to get clear on what is our destination, right? What is our version of success in the boardroom, in the bedroom, and life, family life as well. I'm so glad we were able to have both of you on Women Behind the Millions. Donna, where can all of the listeners find you? And then we'll get Misty's information too.
Well, my business is Money Matters Wealth Solutions, and I have a website at moneymatterswealth.com. And also you can find me at navigatingdivorce.com for mediation work.
Yes, she is an amazing mediator as well, ladies. And Misty, where can everybody find you? As we said, that we have these triggers, right? Any sort of trauma, rejection, we have these triggers. And the problem with triggers are so subconscious that we don't see them on a day-to-day level until the triggers hit and it sparks. So having resources like Donna, like Misty, as you navigate and work through those triggers is so important.
Yes, definitely. So, my practice is Mind, Body, and Heart Wellness Clinic. So you can find me at mbhwellnessclinic.com. And then I'm on Facebook and Twitter and all the random things. Usually it's something related to @Dr. Misty. And but that is our website. And we have plenty of practitioners to help. And actually, I have brought on several people who are training in sex therapy to try to create many more options in the state for individuals who need to seek out that type of therapist.
Oh, incredible. Thank you so much. And again, we will have the link so you can grab the recording from our event last night. We dove into so many more personal questions that the women were submitting anonymously. We created that safe place for them. So check out the recording. Called From the Boardroom to the Bedroom. Nice and spicy title for it. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Misty, for being on Women Behind the Millions. Thank you to all of our listeners. We will see you on our next episode.